American football in Finland.
Let's talk quarterbacks in Finland. I think it's crazy. That that position isn't more developed because most of the Americans who tend to stay around in Finland are quarterbacks. Most of the imports that stay for multiple seasons or stay year round are quarterbacks. I think I can name 5 quarterbacks that are here year round right now. Yet almost no teams in the top 2 divisions have Finnish quarterbacks. And there's a lot of Finnish quarterbacks who they basically know that there's a ceiling. I don't understand why there isn't more focus on the development. Obviously, I work with the podium. I'm online a lot. I'm in touch with a lot of countries outside of Finland. And one of the basic things I see is there's always some type of quarterback camp. There's a lot of these skills camps, and they're always run by these Americans. And obviously, just being American doesn't make you a great coach or a great player. But we all know what kind of impact it has on kids and their development. A lot of kids, they look up to these guys, and they're like, well, if he's going to take time to teach me, then I can only become so good. Like, I want to be better because I know I'm getting taught from him. And here you got Finnish quarterbacks that know that, okay, I'm the quarterback now, but as soon as I turn 18, that's it.
You can talk about the chicken or the egg, whether it's lack of quarterbacks that caused imports or lack of skill or imports that caused lack of development. Whichever way, It doesn't matter because we're here now. At least temporarily or for the near future, and I don't see it changing. We'll say the Maple League, okay, let them keep getting quarterback imports, but I see at least first division. That's where we should really be at least developing the Finnish guys.
I agree with that.
That's a good point.
I think that's at least if guys see that, hey, look, that's at least a ceiling, at least it's raised that far, that at least gives some motivation. And I know there's some guys who definitely think Maple League or bust or nothing. I'd rather sit on the bench in the Maple League, and maybe they do get good experience. Henry is going to Austria now, and I think that's great for him. And he's definitely developed and gotten some time with the Roosters. But there's guys like that probably could play first division ball who choose not to. But I think if that is more widely known, if it's needed, let's say Govola, let's say Jaguars last couple of years weren't allowed to bring in imports. These Finnish guys would have gotten calls to those places.
True. Would they go? I don't know if anybody wants to go there.
Well, I mean, and maybe they would have dropped down sooner than later, and then maybe we had someone else, ECG, come up and pick up one of these guys that's already in Helsinki, something like that. But I do think that the quarterback position, like you're saying, it definitely is the weakest. And for however it developed, the problem is now there's the ceiling's very low as far as what you can do with it here in Finland. And I think that's where the governing body needs to step in and say, all right, we're going to make limits here.
You know what I think is the reason, and I'm just going to use my bias here, that damn spread offense, man. Let's just generally go back. Finland used to be the league where they run the ball. And there was some hell of a American running backs that has come through here. But once that passer came, once people started using those American imports at that quarterback position, my eyes were blown this last season when I started coaching the U19 and U17, when I realized that a lot of these skill position guys have no fundamentals because they started with the spread. You don't learn the spread offense to start football. It's horrible because you won't have any foundation. Almost every great receiver in the NFL was a running back first. Like, that's how you have good ball skills, is you have to learn how to run the ball. Well, that's not the case here in Finland. People are being taught this spread offense. Obviously, it's about the kids because they have to grow up. These kids have been taught to throw the ball, catch the ball, avoid contact. Then next thing you know, they're 18, 19, and they're put on the same field as these grown men, these American and European grown men, and they're told, deal with the pressure of playing this position. Quarterback-wise, I don't know exactly when, but there had to be a turn of the guard where the Finnish quarterbacks couldn't deal with it. When the spread offense got so popular, I'm pretty sure when that started to come over here.
Maybe it was when Leaf came to Portland. Maybe that was the issue.
Oh, yeah, he did come
maybe
to Portland. So, obviously, stuff like that would definitely be the demise of the quarterback. And I guess the question we're trying to answer is, how do we get it back? How do we get these kids interested in being quarterbacks and then confident enough, actually not just the quarterbacks being confident enough, getting teams to be confident enough to believe in these quarterbacks, to believe that these Finnish guys are good enough or could be better than some Americans. I've seen some American quarterbacks come out here who weren't about shit, but I'm not going to say their names. They know who they are, but these guys don't get the chance. It's like some way we have to figure out how to give them that opportunity and make sure they're ready when that opportunity comes.
I was going to say, Janne's in the best position because I think if a Finnish quarterback is going to happen in the near future, it's going to happen in Porvoo because
Exactly.
they have a coach who really wants to go that direction. Secondly, why are they going to Americans? Well, you're dealing with a college quarterback, even if he is horrible, but he has had 4 years of high level coaching, game plan, reading defenses, the whole thing, going up against a kid here at U19 who's been playing 7-on-7.
True.
You know what I'm saying? So
maybe if we save some of that national team money and put that toward bringing over some coaches to teach these quarterbacks, we can get something done.
And that's what it has to go back to because they just don't have the fundamentals. I am a father and a coach of a quarterback, and we one-on-one is we talk about reading defenses and we're watching games and things like that. Why did he do that and so forth? And I'm not the best, at all things like that. There's a zillion guys that know more than me, and probably every American quarterback that's come to Finland just because they've sat in a room for 4 years and gone over this with their college coaches. And one of those guys needs to come here. SAGL or somebody needs to pay that guy full time and just run some coaching clinics, and maybe starting with the U17, U19 boys, and get to that level that at least a Division I team will take them, and hopefully an SAGL team will take them and start getting that Finnish quarterback, because otherwise it's just I've heard youth quarterbacks say, well, when I go to Maple League, I'm going to switch to this. I'm going to have to become this, because they know they're not going to be able to play quarterback. There's just no precedent.
So sad. This frustrates me. This topic frustrates me so much.
It's interesting too, because you do get that in the NFL. You get guys coming out of college where they're great, maybe even spread or option quarterbacks or something, and they say, okay, you're not exactly NFL, but we're going to use you at receiver or something. So that does happen. It's not unprecedented in the States either, but it is sad when it's here because it's not an option. And I think
it's a numbers game.
Yeah.
There's so many good quarterbacks that if you're not in the echelon, you got to switch positions. Here, there's just no quarterbacks. No pressure, but Janne, if you're listening, it's all on your shoulders, buddy. If Janne goes to Porvoo and does well and proves that you can win with a Finnish quarterback, which Porvoo did last year with Sebastian.
True.
If he does that, if they make playoffs, even if they don't win it, if they do well and he shows that a Finnish quarterback can do that, then he just opened up a can of worms for a lot of teams that are going to think they can go the same route.
And the tough thing is there's been quite a few youth quarterbacks in the last few years who have gone to the States as exchange students, and but none of them have got to play quarterback. Actually, one of them, Viljami for your Wolverines has got to play, but some of the other ones that have gone, they haven't had a chance to play. They've had to switch positions there, and so even though they're getting good American coaching, it's not at the quarterback position.
Again, it's still the coaching, because a 17-year-old in Finland is not going to be as developed as a 17-year-old in the States. So if you go over there at 17 and you're not ready, they have no incentive to go backwards in their coaching to coach a 17-year-old Finnish kid up. We've got to get them at an earlier age. We've got to get them at 12 years old.
But think about it. You're the 17-year-old kid, and you've got an opportunity to either ride the bench as a quarterback and get some experience, maybe some practice reps, maybe not, or you go play a different position and maybe you get to be a starter, you get a lot more reps. I see why a 17-year-old would be like, okay, I can go practice a position that I will be able to play in the Maple League versus I get to go practice a position that I barely get to practice maybe because I'll be a third-string quarterback and I won't get to play when I get back to Finland.
And that's where the quarterbacks die. Even if you take away American quarterbacks, you're still going to have imports on that field. And imagine how awesome it would be if they didn't have to all be you didn't have to have a quarterback and a receiver or a quarterback and a running back as your imports, but that's a whole other situation. But the development, you're taking it away from these guys. They're playing national team games again for what I don't know, and growing all the way up until they get to the Maple League, and then they're done. We've got to figure out a way. I agree with you, Mark, like bringing in a coach and saying year-round. Like we're picking the best quarterbacks on the juniors teams, and year-round they're going to camps and learning how to play. Or actually, they don't have to go anywhere. If you bring a guy over, he goes to them all year round and teaches. That'd be freaking awesome. It makes me wish I was a quarterback because I'd do it, but I don't. All I know how to do is throw a spiral. That's it. What I was going to say was maybe not go as far as to just say no imports, but put that tag on it. No American quarterback. I think that's one thing right there. If in the next 2 years, I know they have to like redo the rules or whatever, but if like 2 years from now the rule is no American quarterbacks, you can keep your import rules the same, but you can't have an American quarterback, which means if you really think some European quarterback is better than a Finnish quarterback, which I don't. I'm sorry. I think that Finland can make much better quarterbacks than most European quarterbacks. I don't think people would prefer to just bring in another EU quarterback. I think if you put that stipulation, that could be the start. There's always that possibility of there being Americans. If you take away that possibility, like if you say, hey, there cannot be an American QB, then teams have to think about that when they're doing their recruiting. And they have to really weigh the chance of getting a good EU in comparison to this homegrown product who you know and you've seen play through the juniors ranks, and you can cultivate him. Instead of using that American import quarterback, maybe you get an import coach who coaches the quarterback position, offensive minded, can teach that kid how to read, how to see the defense. And maybe that coach also can coach juniors, so that when a 17-year-old goes to the States, he can play quarterback instead of having to switch position. These are ways.
And plus, you have that Finnish back 365 days a year too, not just for 3 months. So that's a lot of time to develop him.
Yep, they can develop together. That's that continuity that you can create between teams and players right there.
American football in Finland.